Picture this for a second. You're sitting at your kitchen table, it's a Tuesday evening, and you've got this letter from the Social Security Administration open in front of you. Maybe there's a cup of coffee that's gone lukewarm because you've been staring at these numbers for like 20 minutes now, and you're doing that thing where you're trying to do math in your head that really deserves a spreadsheet. You're 60, maybe 61, and you're thinking, okay, when do I actually start taking this thing? Do you grab it early at 62 the moment you're eligible? Because honestly, who doesn't want their money sooner? Or do you wait, grit your teeth through a few more years of work, and take the full benefit at 67? And here's the thing. Most people treat this decision kind of casually, like it's a coin flip. Like the difference between 62 and 67 is just 5 years and a little bit of extra cash. That's it, right? Wrong. And honestly, that's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Steve, and I spend way too much time thinking about money. Specifically retirement decisions, the psychology behind why people make them, and why something as simple as picking an age to file for Social Security ends up being one of the most consequential financial decisions a lot of people will ever make. Like, more consequential than the car they buy. More consequential in some cases than the house. And I know that sounds dramatic. I get it. It's Social Security. It feels like a government form, not a life-altering choice. But stick with me here, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand something that most people don't figure out until it's too late. The gap between claiming at 62 and claiming at 67 isn't just a percentage on a page. It compounds. It follows you. It can determine whether you're comfortable at 85 or scraping by. And once you actually see the math laid out, not in government speak, but in plain human terms, I think it's going to shift how you think about your own timeline. So, let's get into it. Okay, so here's where most people start. You turn 62, you're eligible, and there's this very human, very understandable pull to just take it. Grab the bird in hand. And honestly, I don't blame anyone for feeling that pull. There's something deeply satisfying about finally getting paid back from a system you've paid into your entire working life. You've been handing over a chunk of every paycheck since you were, 22, 23, for 40 years? So when you hit 62 and the door opens, it feels like relief. It feels earned. But here's the part that catches people off guard. When you claim at 62 instead of your full retirement age, which, depending on when you were born, is somewhere between 66 and 67. You're not just getting your money a little early. You're taking a permanent reduction, not temporary, not something that evens out later, permanent. We're talking about a reduction of up to 30%. Let that sink in for a second. 30% gone, forever, from every single check you'll ever receive for the rest of your life. So let's make this concrete, because abstract percentages don't hit the same way real numbers do. Say your full retirement age benefit, the amount you'd get at 67, is $2,000 a month. Sounds decent, right? Now, if you claim at 62 instead, that same benefit drops to around $1,400 a month. That's $600 less every month for potentially 20, 25, even 30 years, depending on how long you live. Now do the math on that over a lifetime. $600 a month is $7,200 a year. Over 20 years, that's $144,000. Over 30 years, and people are living longer, so this isn't some wild fantasy, that's $216,000. I want you to just sit with that number for a second. $216,000. That's not pocket change. That's a house down payment. That's a kid's college fund. That's the difference between traveling in retirement and white-knuckling every grocery bill. And look, I'm not saying claiming early is always the wrong move. We'll get into the nuance in a bit, because life isn't a spreadsheet. People have health issues. People need the money now, and that's real. But what I am saying is that most people don't even realize the size of what they're giving up. They see 62 and they see 67, and their brain just goes, 5 years, not a big deal. And that gap in perception between what people think they're choosing and what they're actually choosing, that's the whole reason I wanted to make this video. Here's something that trips a lot of people up, and honestly, it tripped me up too when I first started digging into this stuff. Full retirement age sounds like the goal, right? Like that's the end point. That's when you get your real benefit, and anything after that is just extra. But that's not quite the full picture, because Social Security doesn't stop rewarding you for waiting once you hit 67. It keeps going, all the way up to age 70. For every year you delay past your full retirement age, your benefit grows by about 8%. 8%. Guaranteed. Every single year. Now think about that for a second. Where else in your financial life can you get a guaranteed 8% annual return with zero market risk, zero volatility, no worrying about whether the market crashes the week after you invest? Nowhere. That's the honest answer. Nowhere. So if you take that $2,000 benefit we talked about earlier, the one you'd get at 67, and instead you wait until 70, that benefit balloons to around $2,480 a month. That's not a rounding error. That's almost 25% more than your full retirement age benefit and a full 77% more than what you'd have gotten at 62. I want to pause here because I think this is where the emotional weight of this decision really lives. We're conditioned, culturally, psychologically, to think of early as winning. Early bird gets the worm, right? Beat the crowd, get there first, don't wait in line. But Social Security is one of those rare situations in life where patience is mathematically, provably, the more powerful move. It's almost countercultural in that way. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. That's great, but what if I don't live long enough to see the benefit of waiting? And that's a completely fair, completely human question. Nobody wants to be the person who waited 8 years for a bigger check and then, didn't get to enjoy it. That fear is real, and I'm not going to wave it away. But here's the thing the math tells us, and I looked into this pretty deeply. The break-even point for most people who delay from 62 to 67, or even 62 to 70, tends to land somewhere in their late 70s to early 80s, meaning if you live past that point, and the average American who reaches 65 today has a very real shot at living into their mid to late 80s, the delayed benefit wins. It's not even close, honestly, once you get into your 90s. So this isn't really a bet on dying young versus dying old. It's a bet on the most statistically likely outcome, which for most healthy adults is living longer than they expect. Okay, this next part, this is the one that I think genuinely surprises people the most, because most of the conversation around Social Security timing is so focused on the individual. Me, my benefit, my age, my check. But if you're married, or even if you were married for at least 10 years and are now divorced, this decision isn't just about you. It ripples outward. Here's what I mean. When one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse doesn't get to keep both benefits. They get to keep the higher of the two. So let's say a husband claimed early at 62 and locked in that reduced benefit. And let's say he was the higher earner in the household. When he passes away, his wife, who might live another 10, 15, 20 years past him, because women statistically do live longer, she inherits that reduced benefit, not his original full potential benefit, the reduced one, forever. I think about this one a lot, honestly, because it's the kind of decision that feels personal in the moment. I want my money now, I earned it. But it quietly becomes a decision that affects someone else's financial security for decades after you're gone. It's not selfish necessarily, it's just under-examined. Nobody sits down and explains this part clearly, and by the time families realize what happened, the decision's already locked in. So if you're the higher earner in a household and you're weighing early versus late, this is a piece of the puzzle that deserves way more weight than it usually gets. Delaying your claim, even if it feels less urgent for your own immediate cash flow, can end up functioning like a life insurance policy for your spouse. It protects them after you're gone. That's a pretty profound way to think about it if you ask me. It's not just my benefit, it's a household decision with generational echoes. All right, let's talk about something that catches a lot of early claimers completely off guard. And I mean, people get genuinely upset when they find this out because it feels like a bait and switch, even though technically it's not. If you claim Social Security at 62 but you're still working, maybe part-time, maybe you took a lighter job, maybe you just weren't ready to fully stop, there's something called the earnings test. And basically what it means is, if you earn above a certain threshold, it adjusts a bit year to year, but we're talking somewhere around $22,000 to $23,000 annually as of recent years. Social Security will actually withhold some of your benefit. Specifically, they take back $1 for every $2 you earn above that limit. So imagine you claim early, you're feeling good about that extra income stream, and then you get a letter saying essentially, hey, actually, we're holding back a chunk of what we send you because you're still earning too much. That's a gut punch for a lot of people. It feels like getting penalized for staying productive. Now, here's the nuance, and I want to be fair to the system here, because it's not quite as brutal as it sounds on the surface. That withheld money isn't just gone forever. Once you reach full retirement age, Social Security recalculates your benefit to essentially credit you back for those withheld months. So it's less of a punishment and more of a forced delay in a weird way. But in the moment, when you're 63 and you see a smaller check than you expected, it doesn't feel like a technicality. It feels like a loss. The takeaway here is pretty simple, honestly. If you're planning to keep working in any meaningful capacity after you claim, claiming super early might not actually get you the cash flow boost you're picturing. You might be working hard, earning a paycheck, and watching your Social Security check shrink at the same time. That's a frustrating combination, and it's one more reason why the just take it early, why not mentality deserves a second look. I want to take a moment here to zoom out because I don't want this video to feel like I'm just telling you, wait, always wait, waiting is always better. That's not actually true, and honestly, treating personal finance like there's one universal right answer for everybody is kind of a disservice. The break-even analysis, where you calculate the age at which total lifetime benefits from delaying finally surpass total lifetime benefits from claiming early. That's a useful tool, but it's not the only lens. Life isn't just about maximizing a number on a spreadsheet. It's about your actual lived experience. If you've got health issues that run in your family, if you're just not feeling great physically, if quality of life right now matters more to you than a bigger number decades from now, that's valid. Genuinely, deeply valid. Money exists to serve your life, not the other way around. If claiming at 62 means you get to travel while your knees still work, while you can still hike, while you can still play with your grandkids on the floor instead of from a chair, that has value that doesn't show up in a Social Security benefit calculator. Similarly, if you desperately need the income right now, if the alternative to claiming early is real financial hardship, not just, it'd be nice to have extra cash, then waiting for a theoretically bigger check later doesn't help you survive the years in between. You can't eat a hypothetical benefit increase from age 70. So here's how I'd actually frame the decision, if I'm being honest with you. This isn't a math problem with one correct answer. It's a math problem wrapped inside a personal, emotional, health-dependent, family-dependent decision. The math gives you the boundaries of the conversation. It tells you what's actually at stake, which, as we've covered, is often way bigger than people initially assume. But you fill in the rest with your actual life. So let's step back for a second and pull this all into focus, because we've covered a lot of ground here. Claiming at 62 feels good in the moment. I get it, honestly, I really do. But it locks in a permanent reduction of up to 30%, and over a couple decades, that can quietly cost you well over $150,000, sometimes north of $200,000. Waiting until 67, or even further to 70, unlocks guaranteed growth of about 8% a year, which is a return you genuinely cannot find anywhere else with that level of safety. If you're married, your claiming age doesn't just affect you, it can shape your spouse's financial security for years after you're gone. And if you're still working, claiming too early can trigger an earnings test that eats into the very benefit you were counting on. None of that means everyone should wait. It means everyone should actually understand what they're choosing, instead of stumbling into a decision because 62 felt like a nice round number to finally say yes to. Here's what I'd really love for you to take away from all this. This decision, this one choice about when to file, is one of the last truly foundational financial decisions a lot of people make in their entire life. It deserves more than a gut feeling. It deserves an actual conversation. Maybe with a financial advisor, maybe with your spouse over dinner, maybe just with yourself and a calculator and some honesty about your health, your goals, and what you actually want the next 20 or 30 years to look like. You've spent decades building toward this moment. Don't let it be an afterthought. Sit with the numbers, sit with your life, and choose on purpose. Not just because 62 finally arrived,